What's going on, he asks. What's going on? Hey, it's Wax Wednesday, stuff I picked up. We talk about stuff I picked up in terms of vinyl, but I also picked up a friend at the airport last night. Chris Vautour, down from the Big Smoke, Toronto, record collector himself, and here to visit family, but stopped in here on his way. So we're going to do the honor, or you're my first guest.
Thank you.
On Wax
wonderful.
Wednesday. So how this works, Chris, it's a little one-sided on my side. You know, these are records that I've picked up, but you know, they're all records I think you're kind of familiar with. So I thought maybe you'd walk with me through these purchases and you know, share your insights on them as well. Are you ready to go?
Do my very finest.
Well, I know I'm kind of springing this on you. You just walked out of the bathroom. Here we go. All right. First up, you knew this was coming because I sent you a picture of this when I got it. Teenage Fanclub's Bandwagon-esque 1991 release.
Came out just before grunge broke.
Yeah, well, actually, in 1991, when Spin put out their year-end issue with their album of the year, they picked this over Nevermind, in fact. You know what?
Makes no sense.
When I bought that, I don't know if it was before I was in my Big Star phase, but I definitely get it now. When I listen to this now, these guys owe everything to the great American band Big Star. This is a nice pressing too. This is a 2018 repress on the gold vinyl. And funny to note, Gene Simmons is thanked on this record. Do you know why?
No.
Because Gene Simmons has this symbol, the bag of money with the dollar sign through it. That's his copyright. He owns that image.
Oh, wow.
And the guys didn't know that, so there had to be an out-of-court settlement in between Gene, who's always opportunistic when it comes to making money. But anyway, out of 10, what would you give this album?
I'm probably, you know, in retrospect, I'm going to be harsh. I'm going to give it a 7.
Really?
Because, well, I remember being a bigger fan of the album. They had A Catholic Skin.
A Catholic Education.
Catholic Education.
The
That's
one, the debut album.
Yeah.
And you're right, that is a really good album. You still have that copy?
No.
Oh, no.
I don't know where it went.
Yeah, that's a hard one to find now. And this one is too, so I'm glad to have it.
We saw them, well, we listened to that a fair bit, and we were excited that they were going to be on Saturday Night Live. We watched them, we said, was that the Grapes of Wrath?
Yeah, it was kind of, I don't know. It didn't really leave a mark.
Maybe we were too hyped up.
Maybe. That happens sometimes. Overhype kind of kills a project. But this still stands up as a pretty good album. I'll give it 8.5. I really enjoyed it. It was a real nostalgic trip for me. So
Right on.
Teenage Fanclub.
Nice pressing.
Bandwagon-esque. Picked up at the Cap. Okay, I don't even know what I got here next, Chris.
Oh, geez.
Oh my heavens.
Another staple from the York Street days.
Yes, Chris and I had an apartment over on York Street. It was quite a spot. It was the most musical place I've ever lived because it was nonstop. And these guys were a big part of that as well. Actually, it's where I first probably came in contact with Parliament Funk, would be through your influence and our time together over at 305 York Street. But yeah, this is Parliament Funk's Uncut Funk, The Bomb. It's a greatest hits compilation, which came out in 1984. Now, Parliament Funk is, you know, there's Parliament and there's Funkadelic, and it's all George Clinton's universe. I think collectively over the years, they've had upwards to 50 members going through the ranks of those bands. But yeah.
I was trying to remember who toured with a starship first. Was it George Clinton's Funkadelic Parliament, or was it ELO?
Oh, that's a good question. That is a good question. We'll have to go to the records for that. But correct me if I'm wrong here. Funkadelic is kind of the psychedelic, more trippy side of George Clinton's vision, and Parliament is just more of the hard driving funk, right? Is that it, or oversimplifying it?
Well, the times and the mores, I think, you know, are so distant now that your conception of the whole thing is pretty much spot on. It's not much sense in rehashing the entire history of the way.
Yeah.
I think there's documentaries about the way R&B artists were treated by record companies in the 70s.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, as folklore goes, Parliament was a George Clinton thing from back in the early 60s that actually auditioned for Motown. Might have even released a single or two on that label that didn't quite take off. So, this here, all killer, no filler, man. It's loaded with stuff. Give Up the Funk's on here, Up for the Downstroke, Chocolate City.
Flashlight should be on.
Oh, Flashlight is on there. It's side 2. So,
yeah, that's a keeper. That's an 8.8.
8.8. There you go. Parliament, the bomb.
The bomb.
Oh, you can't go wrong with that. All right. Me, I'm going to put it 8.5 in that range as well. It's a fun record. It's a great record. It will not fail you if you throw this on at a party. Guaranteed. All right. Ooh. Do you have any sort of craft? You never were really big into Kraftwerk, were you?
Well, I kind of missed the whole thing growing up in rural New Brunswick, but I guess I latched on sometime, before the 80s really kicked in. You'd sometimes hear a sort of condensed version of their Trans-Europe Express on the radio, or it was intriguing, and everything you read about them was like, I guess Devo was already out by the time I heard of them. It's like, oh yeah, I guess where that's some of that aesthetic came from.
Well, for sure,
a tiny stripe. But this record has the robots and the model. And the model is the song I think that sticks around because so many people covered it.
Yeah. For example, can you remember any people that did do it?
I want to think that Big Black did it.
Oh, yeah, that would be cool. Anyway, this came out in 1978, so it's Kraftwerk are a pioneering electronic German band. They probably got in on the ground floor of that whole movement, I would have to say.
They were a band when synthesizers used to take up a whole room.
Yeah, they were huge, no question about it. And the only other Kraftwerk I own is Autobahn, and I do enjoy that because it's got this real nice breezy movement to it, and it's really easy to listen to. This seems to be a little less relying on ambience or trying to push an ambience. But this seems like they're trying to, actually maybe even shoot for singles. It's starting to get, more of a danceable rhythm.
It's certainly an important piece of the transition between punk and new wave.
Right. And to hear, within a year and a half, you have Gary Newman actually on the charts in North America, owing a lot to this album here, because you will hear those definite, traces from one to the other. It was a huge influence, I'd have to go out and say. But Kraftwerk's Man Machine. I won't listen to this often, but it's nice to have a copy.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So out of 10?
Oh, that's usually an 8.5.
Really good. I'm gonna go 7 because I probably won't listen to it that much, but it is a cool record to own. It's one of those. And last but not least,
you're on a tear.
I am going quick here, and we're doing. Oh yeah, we're looking good for time too. All right, are we ready? Last one. Tom Waits.
This is the first Tom Waits record a lot of people would have heard. Not familiar with the stuff he did on Asylum in the 70s.
Yeah. Which do you like better? Do you like the Asylum stuff, which is definitely more the jazz boho kind of image that he's portraying? He's doing a lot of speaking.
I kind of look at it as two different piles of fish. It's they're both fantastic, and I'll have the tilapia. No, I won't have the tilapia. Rain Dogs, what was the one that came out right after this?
Right after this, Frank's Wild Years.
Yeah. Those two records, I think, were of such a piece, and the way that his career went afterwards, he had such a hard time with the administration of his career while he was on asylum that I think this represented a real creative shift, and he took control of his own life. And this, somewhere in there, he, got sober and any number of other things. And now he's like the elder statesman of growl poetry or something.
Absolutely, without question. And
there's lots of people that won't, ever cotton to his new stuff because they think a lot of his noisy stuff, like around the time of Big Time, he was too heavily into Harry Parch. When I say heavily into, I mean he was ripping him off.
Okay.
Harry Parch was a composer that invented his own instruments and then made recordings of them.
Right.
And a lot of people say Tom, owes him a biscuit.
Well, this album is kind of continuing on from where Swordfish Trombones kind of left off, and that's kind of that departure point into that
totally
direction you're talking about. But this has marimbas and accordions and everything but the kitchen sink kind of percussion feel to it. But this is also a bit of a turning point for him as an artist as well, because it's at this point where he's starting to get recognition and success as a songwriter. Downtown Train, Rod Stewart would take that to the top 10 within 3 years of the release of this album. This Tom Waits is just cool in this time of his life, because I think his voice sounds fantastic. I'm a big fan of how he sounded from Heart Attack and Vine on up through, like, say, Frank's Wild Years. I think that's a great period for him.
Oh, totally. Yeah. You're all right. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Tom Waits album?
I probably don't.
Oh, really?
Nighthawks at the Diner is somewhere near the stereo at my house.
Yeah. Well, that's a fun one because it's it's a really intimate audience, and he's really working the crowd.
Yeah. Totally.
And he's good in that role, as an MC as well as a performer. But this would be up there for me. I'm gonna vote Heart Attack and Vine, which would be my introduction to the man, because I love the title track. I love Jersey Girl.
I think
On the Nickels on that. It's.
I think I bought it on cassette.
Yeah.
Whatever that was.
So anyway, now we're all caught up. Thanks for helping me with that.
Nothing to it. It's great to see you.
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. My first guest on Wax Wednesday, stuff I picked up. And if you picked up something, let me know in the comment section. And remember, subscribe, spread the word. I'm having fun doing this. We're back after a week off, and we'll be back in 7 days. We'll talk to you soon.
Rock on.
Love you.